Okay, we will now move forward now to item number 2, request commission impose term limits and residency requirements for appointees to the Estancia Valley Solid Waste Board of Directors. This is a request that has come before us several times from Arthur and Julia Descharmes. Do we have comment back from council on this?
My office researched this question, and the short version is that it's your pleasure, Madam Chair. If you want to impose restrictions on the members that you have the authority to appoint, you may. You don't have the authority to affect anyone else's members, so you couldn't do it globally, but you could make these changes if you want to with respect to, I believe it's the 3 that you get to appoint. There's certainly no requirement to do so, but legally you have the authority to either do that if you want or not. But it's okay if you want.
All right, thank you so much. We're now at the table for discussion.
Madam Chair, it's my understanding that they come before the board to be reappointed. I could not find out whether it's every 2 years or every 3 years. And so I know we appointed approximately a year ago the 3 that we have on. So, you know, we can make, for the record, the term limits, but I'm not for sure if they do not already exist as per se, that they come before us to be reappointed.
My understanding would be that you could appoint anyone you want, no matter how many times. I took the request to mean that you would come up with some number of 2 or 3 year periods, however often it is, and you would say, past that, we're not going to reconsider you, such that if you have a specific applicant that wants to serve multiple terms in a row, you would eventually hit some deadline that you would say you're no longer eligible to serve. That's how I took the request. And so I think you're right that it does renew, and you're not obligated to appoint the same people repeatedly. But I think what this request is that there would be a number of terms you could serve, and then after that you would be ineligible for at least 1 term. Somebody else would have to take that spot. I don't know either off the top of my head how long the terms are.
So if it's kind of like the commission, we're limited to 2 terms.
Correct.
And so we could, if that, you know, I would like to find out exactly what the terms are, and then we could look at whether we could limit it to 2 to 3 terms. I know with our P&Z, if you look at the way they alternate, they usually either have 2 terms or 3 terms, and then they're off. So I wouldn't have a problem with saying 3 terms is the max that somebody could serve. But again, I would like to find out for sure what the term limit is.
Mr. Descharmes, we're at the table. We'll call you forward for comment in just a moment. Okay. You can start walking toward the podium so that your comment can be heard on the mic.
Well, I think if we're going to start term limits on volunteer boards, it's hard because there's not a majority of people out there that have a problem with this. So for me, we have 2 people who have a problem with the way that it's working, and we don't have a bunch of people coming saying this is a problem. And the board of directors that are there, just to clarify, Debbie is put on that board through the mayor of Moriarty.
Yes.
This commission had nothing to do with putting her on there.
We're talking about the 3 county appointees.
I understand. I'm just making it clear because I was accused of issues prior. I just want everybody to understand this commission did not appoint Ms. Debbie Ortiz to that board. She was appointed to that board by the mayor of Moriarty.
Yes, ma'am, that's clear.
Okay.
I just wanted to make it clear that 4 weeks ago you supported term limits for these appointees.
And I am.
I just wanted to clarify Mr. Freyburger's question. And legal can verify from the JPA. The term is 2 years. Okay? And most enacting legislation affecting waste management. New Mexico recommends a 3-term limit, 6 years. I also want to say, I know last time we don't want to talk long today. I know you're probably sick of listening to us, but the residency requirement is very vital. 3 out of the 10 appointees now on the board do not live in Torrance County, but all the real issues affect us residents in the rural areas of Torrance County, us 4,000 payers. And residency matters. It matters for voting. It matters for taxes. I think it's important that the Torrance County appointees come from Torrance County. If you're not a resident here, you don't benefit or use the services, you don't have any idea how well it's operated. And that's a very important addition for someone on this board of directors. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sharp?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, your wife's right behind you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't have opportunity to respond to the Commissioner Tapia, and Commissioner Tapia, I didn't accuse you in anything. I just stated facts that you are friends with Debbie Ortiz. She's on that board, and you can't be objective. You can't be impartial. That's what I said. I didn't attack you. I felt be attacked by you when you said you don't know me.
Well, at this time, I think maybe this conversation might be better had between the two of you. So thank you for coming forward and providing us with all of this valuable information. And we will now come to the table and we can make a decision today. Unless you want to see the JPA for yourself, how would you like to proceed, Commissioners?
So, 2-year terms, 2-year term, 3-term limit max, so that's 6 years. Correct?
That's according to what Mr. Ducharme had said, that's 2 years.
And Joy is clarifying that that is correct. And so we do that come January, or this would be the second. We've got one more year because we replaced them this January of last year, so they will have served first 2 years. So then they would still be able to serve 4 more years if we put this into place.
I would, if we're going to put this in play in the middle of terms, it would be my suggestion that the term limits start at the end of these terms. So at the end of these terms, then if these people wanted to rerun, or we wanted to appoint them, reappoint them, then we could appoint them for 3 more terms.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you would be making a change, but the change would not, the people would not see the results of the change for 6 years, is that correct? Or would it be 7 if you're going to wait 1 year?
The term limits would not go into effect until the term of these appointees
Which
are
is another
finished.
year.
So yes,
1
you're
year?
correct that they
Yeah,
would
we
serve
put them in the year.
7 more years.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to speak for or against this, Mr. Ducharme? And we're still at discussion. We don't have any motions on the table, so this is just something we're considering.
One of these appointments has been on here for 14 years, the other over 12 years. There's a need for fresh ideas on this board. We could talk for hours about removing these people for cause, but there's not time right now and it's not on the table. We have talked to the environmental department. They will soon call for a community meeting on some of the issues we've raised. The current leadership is by the county appointees, and they are making bad decisions that are going to be very negative for our county citizens. And I really implore you, enough is enough. I've never heard of a board that would allow people to be on for more than 20 years. These are not strictly volunteers. They are given per diem and travel, and they have access to millions of dollars in authority funds. And I think if you don't act now, there's a chance that there's going to be some real problems soon with our county and the authority. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ducharme, let me address that. Just because we are putting these, or we're exploring the ideas of term limits, does not necessarily mean that they will be reappointed 3 more times. If my memory serves me correct, which I'm not saying it always does, that when we had the appointees, there were the only 3 appointees that applied to serve on the board. I wholeheartedly would recommend, that if you wanted to make choices.
I'm not trying personally to be on.
No, I'm just saying though, sir, that, when you're limited to your choices, sometimes that's all you've got that want to volunteer to do this. And even though they receive per diem and mileage, I have served on boards like that, and it does not pay, to serve on them. But when these term limits come up in a year, then I would encourage you that if you have other people to apply for it, to give us a choice, to where we can take a look at it and say, hey, we do have new blood. We did this with the Fair Board, and it's working very well.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to remind you that we've discussed this in the past, that the May 9th reappointment was flawed. You didn't receive full information about these nominees. There were only 2 of you present, and I don't think that the public had any idea that this was going to happen. You should have a public advertisement of the positions available like you do with other important boards, and allow public input. You should have the nominees here to defend themselves, to express to describe why they have interest in it, to describe their competence in the area. And I do really believe that you should change the boards, impose these limits immediately, because the ideas that are being put in there are not good for the county. And there's going to be a real suffering in terms of money, increased taxes, increased fees in the immediate future if you don't do something.
So here's my thoughts. We appoint in another year. When it comes up for renewal of the 3 appointments, we advertise on the radio, we put it out there, and we see who comes before us. And we go from there.
I would agree to that.
And if we have more than the 3 applicants that want to come back and serve and volunteer their time and their efforts and their thoughts and everything else, then we've got many more to pick from. And then we can see who comes before us and make our decision then.
Okay, Commissioner, so then, questioning council, should this continue to be tabled, or do you feel like there was a clear direction given? Because it doesn't seem like it's in line with the request as it's written, so just your advice on how to go forward, or if you want to put some different words to it.
You have three options, I think, in front of you. You could table it, and you could move to set term and or residency requirements, or you could decline to do so. My interpretation of the commissioner's comments is that they're not going to impose at this time, and rather they're going to wait until the next appointment and see who the applicants are. So that wouldn't be a tabling. If I understand it correctly, that would just be a decision not to set them and then see what happens with the next round of applicants. So I think the motion would be to decline to set term and or residency limits, if my understanding is correct.
Are you willing to put that into a motion, Commissioner?
Yeah, we have one comment from the audience before I call for the motion. Brody?
Michael Goody. I didn't quite hear that way. I heard it a little different way. I heard it that Mr. Freyburger made a motion. Mr. Freyburger, made a motion, and Tapia simply was putting in a way that would be handled until those term limits were imposed. That's what I heard. So basically, I heard that there was no contradiction, at least the way I heard it, in your original, your original request, Mr. Freyburger. It's just that, it was just addressing how to deal with that until that goes into effect.
I did not hear a motion.
Nor did I, I'm sorry.
What my notes say here is that Commissioner Freyburger suggested that term limits should begin at the end of this first term. But not a motion. I didn't hear a formal motion.
Okay, so I will now then call for the first formal motion in regards to item number 2 as listed on the agenda. Is there a motion?
What's your motion?
I move that we wait until the appointees, that term limit is up, the 2 years is up, that we wait, and at that time, then we will look at putting term limits after we get the applicants.
And residency, may I amend? Do we look at residency also?
We can look at that then.
Okay.
Back to council.
So my understanding, and I just want to make sure I'm not overstating what you're saying, is that for today it's denied, but you're going to reconsider it at that time. So the formal part of this motion is you vote to deny that, or move to deny that request.
Move to deny this.
Okay.
And we will then, when the appointees come back before us in the year,
Reconsider.
and we will consider them.
Thank you.
Okay, there is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion does now pass.